Hello, and welcome back to Ascension TV online. I'm Caroline Mary, I'm your host, and it's so good to be with you today. So, I'm a few days late today because I have been on an amazing healing and coaching seminar with my coaching teacher, Christian Michelson, an American coach. He's an incredible healer and intuitive. He talks about coaching, but really, as he says, it's 92% inner game work, i.e., healing, and 8% strategy. Yeah. So if you want to do something in the world, you got to sort your inner game out. And then the strategy generally comes because you're in a flow and you're in a state of ease and grace. And that is how I like to work. But when I was pondering what to talk about today, I realized that obviously doing this huge seminar that I've invested in for my own healing, it's really showed me how much that I've been hiding in a desperate kind of, oh, I really want to get my business going. I really want to help other people, blah, 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 blah. And really that started when I was a child. So I looked out in the world and I was like, this is hideous. This is a great big mess, pile of poo, and I want to heal everybody. And what I didn't realize, of course, in my naive child state, is that really, Earth being a school, like no one wants anyone to suffer for sure, but like you can't just keep steering someone else's steering wheel is the analogy that comes to mind. Like you want to help people, and that's why as healers and therapists we want to advertise like this is what I can do for you. If you want to help, come and see me. But you can't make it the whole thing. You're right, we can take a horse to water, but we can't make it drink it. And I know on my own journey when I used to smoke, I smoked marijuana for 10 years, and then probably for another 8 years I smoked tobacco. And really, they were my medicine. And people would say, oh, you really need to stop smoking, namely my parents. Other people weren't as blunt. But actually, it was like, yeah, but you're not giving me any tools. Like they didn't say, and let's do some counseling. Let's look at why you smoked, of course. And I kind of knew that subconsciously, or kind of knew it. And I was just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to take that crutch away. Weed was my friend when I felt very alone in the world. And I'm really blessed, that I've met so many people and so many healers, found so many healing modalities. And that is what I want to talk about today. Okay. That's why today, when I was pondering what to talk about, I really wanted to talk about the shadow healing, the shadow and what that actually means and what that looks like and how we can do that in our journey of ascension. And what do I mean by ascension? To me, briefly, it's living in the most alignment with our soul so that we can be the best and like the highest potential beingness of our being, right? And knowing that, feeling that, being that, and expressing that. And for a long time, I had understandings about what that meant, and I thought, therefore, I'm doing that, but that wasn't actually true. And if you think of our shadow, so let's just go into what our shadow is. The shadow is, we could say Jung came with that term, but like wherever it really comes from, it's the bit that's hidden. So as a moon in Scorpio, that is one of my fortes. I can spot the shadow a mile off with people. Obviously, I was ironically not doing that for myself. So a lot of work I've been doing is actually I need to turn the vision, turn my attention inwards. And actually, once we heal our shadow, we generally don't see it in the world around us because we're healing it in our field. Yeah, we can say we're healing it for the collective, but we're definitely healing it for our own energy field, and that will spread out around us. So coming back to what is the shadow to start with, if you've never heard the term, go look it up. It's really worth looking into. But you can also you can liken it to the ego. A lot of people love to bash the ego. Oh, he's so in his ego. Oh, healers are all the ego. Blah 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 blah. Okay, you probably heard that. You've also probably heard of the inner child, also past lives. For me, it's anything that is hidden in our field, affecting our capacity to live a fulfilling, happy, peaceful life, be at peace with ourselves, be at peace with the world and around us and others. And it's that which we're saying shadow because it's in the shadows, it's hidden. That's why people will often talk about the subconscious when we're talking about the shadow. And to me, because I've always seen past lives, I always had the knowing that for me, it's just a given that we have other lives, we've lived on other lives. There was no way as a child I could have the knowings that I had because it wasn't like somebody was telling me, it was just my knowings. I would open books and I would feel like I was catapulted into soul memories, and I'd shut the book and be like, oh, I just can't deal with it, because it was so for me it was so emotive. It was so how can I say it? I would look at the visions and just be like, I can feel and see and hear being in that era, and it was like I was just there, and I would shut it away. One of the books that I'm will be writing, I'm planning just before Christmas, but who knows? Energy 101 talks about the energy of why we tune into all sorts of things. But so because of that, I erroneously thought that I didn't really have so much shadow. I kind of, I was able to see things from a really high viewpoint. So when people, things would happen to people and they'd be like, I don't know what's happening. I'm just getting seeing. I would just know. I'm like, and they don't want to know the answer. That I didn't realize they're asking rhetorical questions. I'm quite literal. So you ask me a question, part of me is like, here's the answer. But, that's part of my discernment as a person, to realize, actually, when does somebody want the answer, and when do you just let somebody be in their stew? And that is why, for me, as a young person, I wanted to heal everyone around me, because obviously I was seeing people's shadows. What I didn't realize is, and what I really believe is, that often if we're really triggered by someone, either they're healing something in us that's a mirror and we're really judging on them, and it's something in our shadow. And it might not be that we've embodied it in this life, but it could be from another life. So, for example, when I was growing up, I detested the army, police, people in war, live like, war bringers. I was just like, you morons. There was a small time in my like later teenage life where I considered joining the armed forces, simply because the thought of being in the wider world was like really unbearable to me. And I was like, well, that would be like a safe environment and I could play my music. I'm a multiple instrumentalist, and that would be a really like, closed environment, right? The other option was like being a nun, but nothing came to pass of that. But I found the concept of growing up really challenging, because I didn't know what I would be doing. I was just, there's nothing in this world that I want to do, but I wanted to heal the world, right? I was really inspired by Bob Geldof and Live Aid, not the suffering, but obviously the wish to bring healing to people, which is one of the reasons why I do this TV show. And so for me, one of the things that I've been doing in latter years is having to see all these shadows that I'd been like, oh, these people. So going back to the army, what I didn't realize is I had been a general. So one of the past lives that I did some healing with some time ago was seeing me on a battlefield in the south of England, actually. And I had been responsible for the death, or I believed that I was the full, responsible being for the death of many, many souls. And I was lying in agony, and I could feel it shifting in my heart, actually. I either killed myself. No, I don't think I killed myself. I had obviously got wounded, was dying on the battlefield, and my soul, that soul part of me, just got stuck there. It was like, I don't want to pass over. I'm too ashamed of myself. I can't go back to God, all of this stuff. And this is why we have ghosts, right? Because fragments of somebody's, like, to me, an oversoul is the one that never comes into earth, and then we come in and have a soul part that's living. So I'm an aspect of my higher self as Caroline, and we can use the higher self for wisdom. It's a lot of times when I write, it feels like it's my higher self that's channeling. When I do healing, it always feels like it's a higher version of me. It's not human Caroline, because the human Caroline has collections of my shadow, my child self, my teenager self, whatever. So for me, part of my healing, my shadow in the last, like, last 10 years, and certainly last 5 years, is going, oh shit, yeah, I was judging the army people. And actually for them, a lot of people who join the army, one, it's exactly the same as I thought. Like, I don't know what to do. Okay, I'll join this thing because there's structure and pay and it looks after you and you get to travel the world. And maybe they don't really think about killing people. Other people probably love it because they really believe like those other people are really bad people. And once I realized that even if I was a musician in the armed forces, I would probably have to go to war if there was a war that was bad enough. It was like, no fucking way. Like, I will not be like, forced to kill somebody, even if it's in a combat situation. There's no way I was going to do that. So, but because now I understand, obviously, in my other lives, and I could have surmise that, but I just didn't go to do that process. I was just like, no, it's bad. Those people are bad. But essentially that's just not true. Like to me, there is no absolute bad. You can have somebody that is portraying negative behaviors constantly and have no remorse, so they're acting bad, but they are not like in of itself bad. Like no, like a tree is a tree, whether it's fallen over or standing up, it's still a tree. It's not an inherently fallen over or stood up tree, it's that's what I work on. And this is helpful when we work on our shadow stuff, especially if you then turn the shadow into the child. And if you're not into past lives or you don't see them, you don't have to see them to do your shadow work, because this life will be playing out multiple layers of stories and challenges that your soul, your higher self, your team, your guide team, the universe are bringing to you when you're ready to meet the shadow in yourself, if that means also meeting the shadow in another person, right? So I call it a shit gift when I'm working with clients, because some horrible experience has happened. Actually, the shit gift is you having to go within and heal the thing. So for me, one of the biggest things in my adult life was getting section twice, and my dad being the one that took me there. And even just this morning, I realized another layer of the reason why I haven't been really doing the work I wanted to do in the world after that experience was because I have still carrying some fear, some charge, some energy charge around my dad. So one part of it is like really angry at him, la 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 la. And so that has been in my shadow. And until you get to it, you won't see it. And until you choose to do something outside your comfort zone, you often won't even realize it's in your field, which is why we call it the subconscious. Now, what I find is that when something is ready to heal, and I'm getting shivers here, like truth tingles, it will be like this, and sometimes I feel like it's a cloud. So if you talk in terms of trauma and PTSD, it's like having a flashback. That part of you will start coming out. It's trying to process on a physical level, on a memory level. They'll say, like, when we can't process something, we put it in one part of our brain, and then when we do process it, it goes to another part of our brain. So in order for that to happen, there's going to be a process, like whether you're talking to somebody, whether it just like splurts out of you, whether you get triggered and then it forces you to look at it. It's different for everybody, absolutely different for everybody. But I know time and time and time again that many of my clients and many of the situations in my life has happened that you have like a hiccup, and it's easy to just want to avoid it. But actually, the only way you really get to heal it fully, is to feel what is actually happening in your body. Now, so I've covered what the shadow is. What I wanted to talk to you today is, and again, it's really inspired by this training, this retreat kind of thing that I've been on, and I'm going to be on at 4 o'clock. I'm so excited. It's the last day, and I just wish I could be in this energy for a lot, because I have shifted so much stuff. Is you can, like, I'm gonna actually just show you, like, how can I say it, like a spectrum, okay, of how we might heal our shadow self. So the lowest version, if you like, and what a lot of lowest, let's say the slowest, not the lowest as in better or worse, because this is not about judgment. This is just about exploring and understanding. And I've been here a lot. So actually, the absolute is just denial. Like, no, 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 I have no problems. And I want to say instantly, I said that, I'm like, yeah, this is where I've been for a few years. I'm like, oh, I've just got to, if I just finish this book, if I just release this, if I just get another client, I'm going to feel okay. And it's just absolute crap. Okay. I've done a lot of work, and I do as much as I can possibly do. But some of the stuff that I've cleared in this course that I've been taking part in, it's just unbelievable. I had no idea I was still carrying so much, and it was so good to just cathartic. Okay, so the one end of the spectrum is like complete denial, and we all know that person. They're bashing around life like a bull in a china shop, and they're like, yeah, I'm fine. You're like, yeah, okay, then whatever. And you might start wanting to move away from them, and I'm sure people have done that with me as well. They're just like, God, is she so in denial? Yeah, because I have been, hands up. Like I spent years smoking, and that just suppresses everything. It's a coping mechanism. It's being an addict for whatever reason. No, this is not about shaming, blaming. This is just about acknowledging it. So if that resonates with you, don't matter. Don't worry about it. Feel the feeling and let it move through, and then do the work. And one of the reasons why I've been like that is it's shame, massive, massive shame. If I admit this, then also I want to say another layer of that is also danger, the feeling of if I admit something that's wrong because of the PTSD I had around being hospitalized, also connected to childhood, where there was no space for I don't know, I'm scared. It just didn't seem like ever appropriate to say, it just never felt safe with my parents to say, I'm scared. Yeah. So it's just like, okay, just, yeah, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. Actually, underneath, just like all this stuff going on. So there's multiple reasons why we might be in that denial. And it's said, with narcissism, people love to blame narcissism, blah, 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 blah. But when you think of what probably happened to them as a child, because they had no space to be in their vulnerability, all they had was potentially shaming, they had to shove everything down so flat, and they've just got to be in this, like, yeah, I'm the best, and there's just no feeling. They're just numbed out. And that is, to me, that's really common. Like, for better or for worse, whatever you see that as a spectrum. Obviously, there are severe cases, but anyway, so coming back to that, like, as I said, the slowest version of healing, should we say that? They're just absolutely, in denial of anything that might be causing, we might be in denial of anything that's causing us grief, right? Then there's the realization, but to me, the first incident might be, oh my God, I'm going to blame this person, and just staying in the blaming and judging and other personing and anger. So it's very outward focus. And again, been there, absolutely been there. And then comes the time when you're like, actually, rather than just telling the story and like, it's great to tell a story. It's okay. I mean, I was going to say it's okay to tell a story, but what actually heals it is the charge that part of us is carrying. And I think I've talked about soul retrieval already. So if you've got a part, say, let's take the me being sectioned, like I could tell the story, tell the story, tell the story, but most of the time when I was telling a story and in times gone by, I was really angry, but I had no ability to say, I am angry, I'm hurting, I am blah, 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 or I'm feeling blah, 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 and come in my body. Because I had to be so, to me, it felt like I had to be so strong so that nobody could get in and like tell me I was crazy or blah, 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 or just say it's just bipolar, blah, blah, blah. Just give me all the fucking shit and give me, force feeding medications or lock me up. So I just was like, no, like I don't do this. I tell the story, but I'm not, I didn't know how to hold a safe space for my feelings. And because I could understand it in the context of like a higher perspective, this is maybe part of my soul, journey. I didn't realize that actually I really needed to have the feeling element moving through. It was just like from the head, which is again, like we're Western people, most people, it's from the head, not the heart or the body. So it's been a journey for me to switch from complete denial, and then I've got the story and I'm really angry at the system, and then come to a point of going, oh my God, I've got this feeling, like acknowledging the feeling. And I believe that a lot of people who say they have anxiety is because they're actually having feelings and they're trying to not have the feeling. There are many other reasons. I had an amazing quote from a lady yesterday that I met. We did a coaching call together in the seminar, and Linda S.K., I think it is. I'll put a link anyway, but she basically quoted, she does work with young people in America, no, maybe Canada, America or Canada, and was saying that anxiety is created when somebody is told they can't be who they really are. So you're always having to be like this, but actually you're this, and it's like, but to me, it's a similar thing of I'm having a feeling, I'm trying to not have a feeling. So for example, I was terrified when I got sectioned. I was fucking fuming, like absolutely raging. I was also detached and like, this is just hilarious. This is like a trip. This is like the worst trip in my whole life could happen. But the anger, there was no way. Like, I was not allowed to express that anger. Like, nobody wanted to hear it. Nobody said, like, this is probably going to be stinging for you. But this is why we've done this. There was no aftercare of like, okay, we'll put you straight into counseling. Now you've been through this whole, like, it's an intervention, right? When you're getting sectioned, it's a massive intervention, a bit like being locked up for doing a crime. But for me, the time didn't, the crime didn't, there was no crime. Like, it's like, just because you don't agree with how I'm being, it's not okay to force feeding me this fucking injection. It's just so infuriating. And but so there was, but I had no way of processing. I didn't know about journaling. I didn't know about EFT. I did not know about Vipassana, which is as we're going through this spectrum, I will talk to you about the really quick healing tools that we can use to shift a shadow. Um, but so I was really stuck in denial for a long time. I was just like, that was their fault, fuck them, I'm just going to go over here. But bit by bit, it was like leaking out of my subconscious because I was in shock essentially, and I was in massive coping mechanism, like defense, batten down the hatches, no one gets to see any vulnerability. I was really masking. And that was like what most people do when they're in a traumatic situation, because that's what they have to fight for their life. This is why children people please as a child, because you don't get a voice to stand up to your parents. So you do what you can, but you're almost shoving down that shadow self in incomplete denial until bit by bit, the subconscious starts bleeding into the everyday life. You get triggers. And essentially, I believe it's time for you to heal. And you can't force it. I've been shown time and time again, like if somebody's in their stew, you just have to let them. You can send them healing, you can pray for them, but you're not going to be able to, like force them to heal. In a similar way, and I write about this in the book, Who Called You Crazy? You can't force a flower to open, right? In the right time with love, it will soften and open, and that's when the healing can start. You can't make your brain and nervous system just relax. When people say, oh, just relax, just don't worry about it. It's just the worst thing. It's just like shaming, blaming, complete denial, gaslighting. It just doesn't help. So, a lot of times, if you know somebody that's in the denial thing, just send them love, because that's their defense and that's where they're at. And just check in. Have you ever done that? Yeah. So then you can just let go. There's no judgment. It's just compassion, 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 mercy, mercy, mercy for everybody. But moving along this spectrum, once you kind of go, actually, I'm bored of the moaning. I'm bored of my own story. Like, I'm obviously bored other people. Like, I had the guy in Portugal, like, why are you still talking about being sectioned? And I'm like, dude, because it fucking sucks. But obviously I wasn't really over it. You know what I mean? I hadn't really processed. I hadn't got the book out of my system. I'd written it, but I hadn't like put it into a place where it could be published. So it was still in my field and I just hadn't processed it. He'd given me an opportunity to talk. So I took it, and he was moaning. And part of me is like, dude, you want me to talk to you? This is what's on my plate. Like, be kind or fuck off. And so, I kind of like edged myself away from him. But in truth, I don't really want to listen to somebody's story again and again and again and again. Not really. I want them to heal. I just want to be like, let's do something, right? Which is why I'm walking you this way. So like if we're in a story, one step over from that is doing tap in, where you can actually really start saying the first layer of the story. And then as you journey through a tap in sequence, for example, even though I was so pissed off when I got sectioned and I feel like I'm over it, but I still have the story. I love and accept myself. Even though I didn't realize how much I had about being sectioned, how much beef I had, I love and accept myself. Even though it felt like I was in complete denial about being sectioned and the horror of that situation, I love and accept myself. It was fucking annoying. I got really pissed off. I actually fell out with pretty much everyone around me. No one felt like it, no one felt safe. I didn't have any tools. I felt completely alone in the world and a massive amount of shame. And even though I had loads of shame about it, I can love and accept myself. So as you see, if you go through those cycles, and if you're interested, go to the tappingsolution.com, because there's a whole load of tapping meditations and scripts and all the stuff that you need there to learn about EFT, emotional freedom technique, or tapping. It's a way of softening the into actually, I've got this and I've got this and I've got this. And when I've worked with clients who need that as a process tool, it just helps shift the story on a notch. So if you're here, it kind of goes da, 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 and it's a way of the subconscious coming out. Now I've done it on behalf of clients because they're like, oh, and I'm like, is it this? And I'll just do it here because you're tapping on your thymus, and that can really just help shift the energy as well. What you're doing is shifting the energy so you come back to center. You're letting that part of you that's stuck have a voice, but soften in back into wholeness. So to me, sometimes the story is the in for realizing there's something to heal, and then we need to process it. Because if you're just staying in the story, it's like, oh yeah, but I'm not, I'm not actually going to just come out of that. And actually, then we're stuck in the past. So, a lot of people talk about being in and out. I completely get it. When you're in a flow state, that's when you can play music, dance, and be all of that stuff. And it's not a choice to talk about the past if you've got trauma. Like, it's not a fucking choice. Believe me. And people, say, oh, just don't think about it. It's just bullshit. It's just so ridiculous. You don't say somebody that got raped, oh, just don't think about it. Their body is out of whack. They've got mega imprinting. They'll be crunched up inside. You just can't wipe that off. It doesn't mean their soul isn't fine, or on some level, maybe they wanted to experience that on a soul level pre-life. But in this moment, they're still fucking suffering, right? And this the reason I'm swearing is obviously because there's still something shifting in me from the amount of times that I've done that to myself. I shouldn't feel this feeling. I shouldn't be vulnerable. I shouldn't. I've gaslit myself, gaslit other people. Other people have gaslit me, because a lot of the times we don't want to hear the long story, and you can see someone suffering and you just want to get them out of it. So just coming back to this spectrum of healing, like over here, we've got the denial, here we've got the blame, here we've got something slower that can start shifting the narrative. And when we do that, we can get massive insights. Like every time so I was going to say the EFT to me is very similar to journaling, but one is you can do it on the move. So sometimes, like, stood in a queue or you're driving and something comes to mind and you're looping, do some EFT and it will just shift. It's like, oh, there's something happening that I need to shift the energy. Right, let's do it. Journaling, obviously, you have to sit down, you've got your pen, but it gets it out of your head and your body and your system, and it gets onto paper. And when I've done journaling, I literally feel like I've started here and done here, and I had no idea I was here. Because when we're in that, we just think that's us. Like, I used to think I had loads of energy because I couldn't sit still, because I had mega trauma and I couldn't ground, and people say, oh, you should. It's like, yeah. And no one actually gave me the tools to actually deal with the thing. They just wanted to get me out of their face or tell me, don't be like that. Yeah, nice one, guys. Thankfully, obviously, we're in a whole different era right now. It feels like the generations are like year on year rather than 10, 20 years. We are learning so much more about the nervous system and bringing in to peace. So denial, talking story, being stuck, sounding stuck. Because actually, to be honest, it's not stuck if you're at least acknowledging there's a problem there. The shift then comes, okay, I can do EFT and I can do journaling. But what I've been doing this week, and I'll be doing later today, I'm very excited about, is really high energy, like basically dissolving the whole issue. Okay. Now, in this spectrum here, I would say we have violet flame healing, we have divine energy healing, something both things I'm trained in. You have angelic healing, so you can just bring in angelic energy to your energy system, and it will literally be dissolving, healing, dissolving, healing. So, and my understanding, it's come to me many, many times that divine energy, higher energy, energy from source, pure energy, whatever you want to call it, chi, prana, is pure, and because it's pure, it also has intelligence. And what it does is it's like washing. We wash everything with water. It's the same for our energy field. So it's like healing what's even behind the physical. And that means the imprinting onto the physical is purified. So energy healing is not laborious, like, oh, these little beings inside you have to like re-knit your bone. You're literally healing on a quantum field level. And it's still something for me to drop into, that I could have those types of miraculous healings, like healing your teeth, growing back, bones knitting like perfectly, scars dissolving. But it has happened. I have heard a lot of stories. I've read about stories, because it's possible, because you're healing it at the root, not at the physical level. Okay, and it can be quite like whoa, beyond our human comprehension. Yeah, granted it is, but it doesn't mean it's not possible. And I have witnessed it again and again and again and again with healing. It's like over this weekend we've probably done 20 like quick fire healing sessions. We all get 10 minutes and we swap around in the group, and more or less every single group I've been in, the whole issue is just gone. It was just like, oh, I feel great. It's just completely healed, not because we're laboriously writing and exploring it and explaining it. So, for example, I'll give you an example of the difference, okay? If I needed to heal a past life, okay, there has been times when I see it and I feel like I'm going into, like, you could say it's like a trance state where I'm accessing the vision of another life. And it's like a computer game. You can walk around, you can explore it, you can have a look, you can be like, oh my God, this is who I was in this life. But is that healing it? How to know it's not? Of course it's not. What you need to do is be like, okay, what happens? And the one I'm thinking about, and this actually got healed on this call, was one of the calls was my life as white flame. I saw my whole tribe getting killed, and I just absolutely beside myself. I thought I committed suicide, but somebody intuited for me, no, I didn't, but I may as well have done. And what came to me later, because I've had to do a lot of work on this life, is, and because I was in the story, not the real quick healing, I kind of almost didn't want to let it go as well. Is that I believe in our culture, or this particular tribe, or group of, it was Native Americans. I think I should have committed suicide because of I failed, or there was something like this, and some part of me just didn't do that. So there was like a double shame, which is why I think I thought, oh, I probably committed suicide, because actually the energy of that life was, I should have done, I really fucked up. But I've met the guy that was in that life, and he dragged me away from the tribe. It's like, there's nothing we could have done. We were literally watching them getting slaughtered by like white people. Like, you would have literally just got popped. So like, he's there, no, no, come on, let's go away. But of course, you got survivor guilt. It's absolutely horrendous. So, but by exploring it, it's like watching a film. You come out, you haven't actually shifted anything. Whereas what happened on the call was that part of me got closer and closer. Rather than watching it, it was like merging with that part of me, and the feeling of, I just don't want to live. I just don't deserve to live. I don't deserve anything. I'm the worst of the worst of the worst. And so while that is in my energy field, because to me, our past life is like, we are accessing it all. People talk about accessing the Akashic records. To me, we are that. It's in us. It's in our in our energy field. Okay, you don't have to go anywhere to get it. It's just not tangible. And people, if you don't believe it, you're never going to access it, because you just won't. You won't cognitize that like part of you. But for me, it's all, that door has often been open, but I hadn't really scooped in and healed all of it. So like, this part of this spectrum that I'm talking about, going from the kind of complete denial, then we're kind of what do we say, kind of realizing and being in the story of it, even being like familiar with the story, being comfortable with the story of it, coming over to doing like the slower release. To me, that's the journaling, the EFT, and then moving over to here, where you're literally just noticing and being, and that is the healing. Now, I'm going to talk about this part a bit more, okay? I have now even more tools that I have used, but not to the capacity that I have been the last few days. So these are Peace Process, Instant Miracle Breath, and Ultra High Energy Healing. And when I work with clients, I generally work with the Peace Process. I was trained in that years ago, and I've used it successfully with pretty much every client I've ever had to heal loads of stuff. I think it's brilliant. The Instant Miracle Breath is where I, as a practitioner, literally draw things out of you with my breath. I did it the first time intuitively when I was in Portugal in 2014. I was in a shamanic ceremony, and a woman passed out, and she was basically just shut down from her. Something had come through in the ceremony, and she just, and I was just extracting, and the shaman was watching me, and I was like, yeah, this is what she needs. And he's like, fair dues. And I'm like, yeah, fair dues. This is obviously something, it clicked in why I got section, because it was like, this is my soul knowing. I just know what I need to do. So basically, I've just been trained to do that a lot more, and it's come a lot more clear how quickly we can heal. Because when we have a trauma, basically, when we get stuck in a situation, so for example, in that time, and that me believing that I had fucked up, right, in that life, I was just not letting energy move through. Like I could have lived on my own happily. I could have joined another tribe. I could have like joined in with the white people. There was nothing. I was so beside myself. I remember it well, and I can remember it as in like a recent feeling because that has been so latent in my, laying latent in my field. And it literally feels like, yeah, it's like, yeah, that's gone. Thank goodness. But if you are in, basically, we're denying what's happened. So I am wishing, other. What's that going to do to my energy system, right? If we have our Shushuma as the flow of energy up and down, like energy from the earth going up source, source coming down, us expressing ourselves, or a tree, as a tree, we're growing, moving, growing, and you just go, no, you've just got like, you've closed one of your channels, your energy channels. It would be like a tree just going, I'm not going to flow. Like, no, I shouldn't have done that. And it's just everything is going to stop, it's going to start wilting, its energy is not flowing. Like I can see the difference in myself after these 3 days of healing I've had. I just feel like, God, I've just come out of a fog. And it's been layer after layer after layer. And I also watched the replay of the previous year's one. So I'd already had like a shitload of healing anyway. Um, but like, so for me, if I'm just in denial, fine, you're in denial. If I only was in the story of it, fine, it's interesting. It's very interesting for me to see my past lives. It fascinates me. And oftentimes honestly, I just wish I was not in this era. Like I find this era disgusting. I find towns, architecture, like clothes, everything just ugly in this era. But that means that I'm like slightly in resistance to this era, and that has not helped me, right? So even that is something. I did some healing about that yesterday, so it doesn't feel so charged. It feels kind of like just funny to say it now. Um, so coming back, to this spectrum, in this spectrum, okay, you can receive high energy from anybody that is a healer, okay, right? Reiki or, energy healing, whatever modality, okay? So many modalities, it's amazing. They all pretty much work the same way. They're going to just be cleansing your quantum field and reshuffling, and you're just going to feel brighter. Any of the heavy energies, the stuck energies are just going to be released, and you'll be flowing and vibrant and back to what feels like a more vibrant version of yourself. Okay, the things that you can do, and this is what I really want to share with you today, because there are loads of ways that are really similar, okay, that you can do this work for yourself. So one, you can ask for healing. You can just say, thank you, higher self, guides and angels, mother, father, God, source, all creator, all that is. Thank you for healing this, okay? And just act like, yep, it's going to happen. It's going to happen now. It's going to heal. If you don't believe that, then you do more shadow work about, why don't I believe it? So I have this thing with my eyes. My eyes are not strongly out of focus when I don't wear my glasses, but some part of me believes that it would be vain for me to heal them. So guess what? You're not going to heal your eyes if you're not going to believe you can have them healed if you believe it's vain to have them healed, right? It's crazy. I know it's another thing on my list, right, to work on. So that is how your shadow can show up as a limiting belief that is just like, I'm bad if, or I shouldn't because. And that is where journaling can really help with this. Okay, so that is one thing. Journaling EFT is 100%. They do work. I have had so many shifts from both of those modalities. But coming back to the energy work, asking like for like praying, like thank you for my beautifully healthy eyes, thank you, and you could also say thank you for healing anything in my field that has me believing I shouldn't have it. Yeah, so thank you for healing my beliefs around my eyes so that I can receive healing, and thank you for the healing of my eyes, just for an example. Okay, but the other thing you can do is something that I coined, the phrase, I call it re-chiing. Okay, re-chiing. You can put your energy focus rather than out, i.e., you're looking at me, that means your focus is at me right now. If you look at your hand, your focus is at your hand. You can put your focus in your body. Now, this is what yoga nidra is. This is what vipassana is. This is what body scanning is. I write about it briefly in the book. To me, and I called it re-chiing before I ever knew of those like those phrases. So I did yoga for years, but I didn't do it in classes. So, and I didn't ever come across yoga nidra. Fine, I wasn't meant to, whatever reason. But when I came back from Portugal in 2015, well, 14, but then really quickly, late on in 2014, I was doing a lot of meditation. For some reason, I just started doing this, what we might call a body scan. So every day I would start in my head and I would just put my focus here, here, and I just would move through my body in literally in slices, slices, slices. If I had some pain, I would literally just zoom in. And honestly, I don't know why I started doing this. I don't really know. I imagine something happened on my healing, on my ecstatic awakening dance teacher course. I don't know. I don't know how it happened, but I was not working. I had some inheritance and I was doing a lot of processing. I was starting writing. I was doing a lot of blogging with Breaking Up Bipolar. Anyway, I started doing this thing and I asked myself, like, what is this? It's re-chiing. I'm re-chiing my body. So if you think about it, like we see a plant, if we don't have enough water, it starts wilting. You put the water in, it plumps back up. And it's the same for us. Like if we do something wrong, we're going to stop allowing ourselves to receive love from other people, money, health, anything. We just start crumpling, which I've had a lot of. And we are depleting our energy system. And also, the other thing we can do is trying to make up for it. So, I have been a chronic overworker and overachiever in some of my life, not all the time for sure. Because of trying to make up for something that I did wrong. And sure, I can say like I fucked up, I made an error, but to punish yourself perpetually, it's just crazy. Like there's no grace there. And it, even if the whole world wants to punish you still, you can actually forgive yourself, feel the remorse, acknowledge, okay, I fucked up, I'm going to try not to do that again. Move on, like move the fuck on. We have to do this. And I'm talking to myself right now as much as I'm sharing this with you. It's so important. And it's why I love the work that I do as a coach, because majoritively, yes, I'll talk to you, but most of it is the healing and unhooking the deep, deep clogged up energy that we can not always realize is there, but can be absolutely destroying our chance of being in a vibrant place. And what I will say is, whilst being in the story or storying through the journey, journaling and EFT, it's not wrong, but trying to basically, the more we're staying in that, and this honestly, this is really dropping in for me, and this is why I wanted to share it with you guys. And the more we're staying in that, is it's like we're being in it again. And like, I know as much as anybody, like when you're having a flashback, you don't get a choice. That part of you is merging. And that's why it can be so discombobulating. Like flashbacks are not fun. You literally feel like you're tripping. When I was pregnant, I've used this as quite an example, plenty of times. I felt like I was just in massive like flashback overwhelm, because it was feeling like if I have this baby and I'm not living the way I think my parents expect me to live, then my belief system and my whole energy system, my nervous system is like, they're going to take the baby away. There's no point in me having a baby. Like I can't live in alignment with my truth in this world with my current like parents and the way my dynamic is set up. It's not necessarily true, but people that might say, don't be ridiculous, that shit happens. Like people's family, you don't know the triggers. Like you haven't met my dad, you don't actually know that. But the point is, if I hear all of that from my field, it's much less likely to happen, because it's not something that's like, when I'm in that fluctuation state of having those flashbacks, that is when you seem very odds with the world. You're not fully in this present, and people can tell, even if they don't understand it. And a lot of people don't like it. They're not familiar with terms of healing. They're not familiar with that, the process of like flashbacks and what that means, and that it's not pure just crazy, you need to lock up. It's not dangerous. It's a process that someone's going through, and it needs holding kindly, right? It doesn't need judgment, extra trauma, extra, just shit like piling on from people. But anyway, so you see, that's what brought up a lot this healing phase for the last year and a half. It's been quite strong for me because I did not realize how much was still there. So it's absolutely gift. Like being pregnant with Thomas, that's his name, Tomos, there's the soul that I was pregnant with. It was such a gift because it made me look at my shit that I was avoiding. And this is what I'm talking about, shadow self. So coming back to me to the re-cheating, if you call it body scanning, like go for it. Like if you already do that. The other thing is with the Vipassana, okay, it was only when I actually did that for 10 days myself, I realized like, oh God, I've been doing this. And it's every time you sit into that type of meditation, you're literally noticing. It's a practice of realizing when you're going, oh no, I need to think about la 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 la, because feeling that feeling and just noticing the sensation feels impossible. Now, for me, one of my trauma responses is I'm not like I have felt like I'm not allowed to just do what I want to do. Like I have to watch my back, I have to like check, am I being selfish? Whatever script, okay? Childhood stuff, school stuff, I don't know what from, it doesn't really matter. So doing that has been really hard because if you're hypervigilant, you're looking around you and you're not able to go within. And that's why oftentimes real healing won't start happening until you're with somebody really safe for your nervous system. You start relaxing, then the healing happens. And I think a lot of people then go, oh, what the hell? Why am I having all this shit now? Because you didn't heal with it then. If you're in a war, like crisis or war, you ain't going to be feeling safe enough to heal. The minute you start feeling safe, your nervous system calms down, the junk, the old stuff, no disrespect to any of us with any of that old stuff, is just going to be moving through your system. But this is why that type of Vipassana, being present with what's arising as you body scan, tuning in, oh, okay, I've got this thing in my solar plexus, just being with, putting your hand there. Okay, you will start healing it 100%. And that is actually a lot quicker than I got to write about this and blah, 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 blah. Because when you heal the energy of it, the charge, emotional charge, you are literally like letting the emotion through that you had at that time. Like if it's fear, okay, let your body do what it needs to do. We know the fight or flight response has an arc, and if you just get stuck there and then you're like, oh, I shouldn't have that feeling still needs to do the arc. And that's why you just have to let it be. And it can be challenging. It really can be challenging if you've had a lot of stuff down. But you have to let the volcano kind of do its thing and then it will settle again. So anyway, I hope that has helped a little bit, talking about what the shadow is and how you can, to me, one of the major things we can do is just soften and be like, okay, everything shitty about me or another person that I have hitherto judged and want to shove aside, which also makes it a bigger shadow, by the way, right? Is actually just a part of me. And if you see it as a child self or even a baby self, it is so much easier to be kind about it. Okay. It could be from other lives. It could be from like a trauma in an adult life, but rather than being horrible to yourself for having something that's a bit out of whack, loving it is the healing. And that is when we read chi, when we do body scanning, when we do yoga nidra, or when we do vipassana, which to me is all very, very similar. You're literally putting your inner focus. So just do it on your shoulders for a moment. Just be with your shoulders, be with your shoulders, be with your shoulders, be with your shoulders, be with your shoulders. You are channeling your immense energy, your God self being, your creator self. No matter what you feel about yourself, you are that person still. You are a being that is, made of God. You have immense capacity. You are purely channeling it into your shoulders. You will start feeling softer. You'll feel warm. You might feel tingles. Your whole body might start relaxing because ultimately most of us are starving. You might see it in me. Yeah, I know. I'm not there. I'm not 100% there by any means. I absolutely get it. But it's still what I share with you. I'm also learning. We teach what we need to learn ourselves. So this is why I do this work, because it keeps it current in my mind and reminds me. And our coaching teacher, Christian Michelson, if you ever hear him talking, he will easily own like, oh yeah, I did this thing and I was on stage, I was making an offer and I broke down in tears because, we've all got stuff. We're all shifting stuff, especially those of us that are old souls. We might be choosing to heal like every life. So we're going to have a lot of challenges in our current life that we can keep hitting against, and then I got to do the healing. Okay, come back to myself, do the healing. Come back to yourself, do the healing. So if you followed along just with the shoulder thing, let me know. If you know about yoga nidra or vipassana or body scanning and you like the rechiing thing, like let me know how it goes. Let me know. And I'm just getting a site, actually, I might make a PDF for how to rechi and how that heals your body. Okay. So hopefully that's given you a bit about the shadow, what it is, why it helps us to heal, why going towards the energy version of the process is a lot better for our system than the slower version, because essentially we drag out the process. Okay, if you just do the energy healing work, it is so much quicker. Now I'm thinking, as I'm telling this to you, I'm thinking, yeah, well, why have I not done that? And that one of my beliefs, and I'm going to work on it today in the seminar, is that I'm not allowed to just be okay. It's like, no, you just don't get to be okay. And if you think of where that kind of dynamic can come from, one part of it was I feel bad, so I shouldn't feel okay. So that's the internal. An external thing that's happened to me is um like what are you doing? Just sitting there, like smile or do like what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I'm actually just okay. Like, stop telling me like I have to perform, right? And then the other thing, another layer of it was when I was a kid, I used to think I'm really quiet and I play music and I got my A's, and it wasn't really okay. It just was like nobody likes somebody that just finds it quite easy. Like you just, that's not okay. There's a lot of other stuff that I haven't found easy in my life. Hell to the hell, yeah. But it really felt like, no, you don't get to have how clever you are. You don't get to be how diligent you are. Oh, okay then. How do you be yourself other than being yourself? Like you can't just not be you. And I created this whole persona, I was turned into a hippie, trying to get people's attention, and because I didn't want to be a lonely, diligent, like quite clever person. It was sucked. But ultimately, it wasn't really the clever. It was just the fact that I had a really strong belief in God as a child, and I wanted to do well because I wanted to honor the life that I had and every opportunity I had. But somewhere along the line, it was like I started saying, like, it's not okay, it's boring, people don't like it when you're clever. You get the most beef the cleverer you are. If you wear glasses, you get beef. If you're clever and you've got have to carry your musical instrument, it's like you get punished for like being good at stuff by the kids that are not, right? And they're probably getting told off because they're not doing well, and it all just goes on, blah blah blah. So we're just letting all that go. See, stories, right? You can already hear it. You kind of like, oh yeah, me too, which can really help, right? Because there's no shame if you share stuff with love. But sometimes just coming into alignment, like, is it okay for me to just be me? Even if people go, ah, blah, 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 you're like, okay, but I'm still me. There's a book, isn't there? Have the courage to have people hate you. Ooh, do I have the courage to let people just hate me? I don't know. So there we go. I hope you've learned something today. I really wanted to do a half-hour shoot, I was going to say, because I've got like a whole camera crew here. No, I haven't. I want to do a half-hour snippet today, but there we go. Obviously, that's all that wanted to come out. I hope you have found that useful. I wish you well on your journey. I hope that you're in alignment. I hope that you're in your full ascension alignment and you're just loving your life. If you're not, look up on my website. There are some PDFs that can help you. The Coming to Peace series is all about choosing like something in your life that's causing you a bit of angst. And there's some general prompts, because obviously I can't do energy healing like straight off, like through a PDF. But it's just a way to get that shifting starting, so that you can literally come back. And I hope that you don't need it. I hope that you're really well, and I hope that you might reflect on this and go, yeah, I already know that. Cool, wicked. I hope that you're doing a daily meditation practice, because this can really help. Like literally, you could do a 10-minute body scan morning and night, and you will not know the difference. You will just mind blown. Okay, you can pop a lunchtime one, even better, right? And you just literally have an energy reset, go about your day from there. It's unbelievable. I forget as well. And again, so everything I'm sharing with you is things that I am learning and I'm still putting into place and I'm still remembering to do, because we didn't get taught this stuff as a kid, right? So So much love to you all. I wish you so well on your journey. Do comment, reach out if you need to. If you want a session to experience some of these amazing healing modalities, you're very, very welcome. It is really quick. The coaching methods that I use, the healing methods within the coaching framework is really powerful. So if you want to give it a go, I'm always happy to do a free session. And if you want to join a coaching program, do a month of coaching with me or more, you are so welcome to sign up for that. So much love to you all. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.